In this video, I'm going to take you through all of the techs and specs and design features that make this Eovolt Afternoon Origins 20-inch such an amazing folding electric bike. So before getting into the real technical specifications of the bike, let's just talk a little bit about Eovolt as a brand. Eovolt is a French brand based in Lyon with its own factory and crucially its own research and development team. So that means that they are designing and innovating their own products, and you see that in particular in the new Pro premium range bikes. But a lot of that technology and design and innovation has also dripped down into the lower Origins range, and that is what we're going to show you, some of the new stuff that is on the bikes this year. So just a quick little overview of the bike itself. So the first thing to really understand is that this is not a folding electric bike. It's a strange thing to say, I know, but actually this is an electric bike that folds. It's a very important distinction to understand. Because the ride on the Afternoon is so solid and there is zero flex in this bike despite the center fold, it means that it rides every bit like a full-framed electric bike. But then you've got the extra versatility of being able to fold it up, put it onto a train, put it in the back of your car, fold it up in your office if you're commuting to work. You know, if you're struggling for storage at home, fold it up and it's easy to store. So you've got all of that extra versatility with this e-bike. But don't just think that you need to buy this bike because you need it to fold. This will function every bit just as an electric bike with the extra versatility of folding. So because Eovolt are in charge of their own production and a large part of their supply chain, it means that every year the bikes are improved. And this year we are now moving on to version 3 in the Afternoon, and there has been a number of nice little improvements this year. So the first ones are to note is that we now have full Shimano hydraulic disc brakes, which is an upgrade, and we've also moved to Schwalbe pickup tyres that have got 6 layers of puncture protection. So that means if you want to go out and be a bit more adventurous on the bike, then you can do that. We also have a new centre locking mechanism, which is now just a one-step locking mechanism. There's no need for a second safety catch on there, so it's a lot easier to use and it's a lot quicker. We now have a silicone sleeve in the seat post, which means that the seat post battery moves up and down far smoother and your battery doesn't scratch as well. That's another nice little feature. We have a new chain set on as well, which has got a spider. So that now means that if you do need to change a chain ring at some point, there's no need to replace the whole chain set. With other similar looking bikes that are inferior quality, they have a molded chain set, which means that you can only have to replace the whole chain set. Also in version 3 for this year, we have some new colours. So from previously, we still have the Onyx Black, the Ocean Blue and the Sage Green available, and they are lovely soft pastel colours that look fantastic. But we have 2 new colourways available this year as well, and they are 2 vintage editions, one of which is satin black and this one that's in front of you, which is satin blue. As you can see, it's that mix of the chrome finish with the leather grips and the leather look saddle, which make this bike look absolutely stunning. The satin black is the same, just that where you see the blue frame, you have a black frame. They look fantastic, they really stand out. So if this kind of retro look is something that you really like, then you should definitely take a look at the new vintage editions. How does it fold? Well, it's very, very simple. Firstly, put your kickstand away, fold your pedals in, put your crank down on this near side, push your seat post battery down to the ground, handlebars down, undo the centre locking mechanism, which is now very simple with that new bracket, and then the back wheels just come round and it locks into position like so. So very, very simple. It folds down into a very compact position. So now if you want to put it onto a train, put it in the back of your car, put it next to your desk in the office if you're a commuter, very, very simple to do. But the real clever bit of this now is in that new fold and go locking mechanism, which allows you to push this bike along in its folded form and the 2 back wheels will not separate. So to do it, you just put it on this back wheel, pull your seat post battery in your saddle out, and that is now your handle to just push this along. You can push this along and those back wheels are, as you can see, with the new bracket and the new design, are perfectly parallel to each other. So as you push this bike along, unlike a lot of other folded bikes, where the two wheels are constantly trying to get away from each other, these are locked in a parallel position, and you will just push this along and the two wheels will not separate. But with those being held in such a secure position, let me just put this back down. Even with those two wheels now being held in such a secure position, like I say, when you're pushing it along on a train platform, they won't separate. It's incredibly clever, the design, to actually try and separate them. Now, a lot of cheaper, inferior products, they just have a strong magnet and a plate that actually doesn't hold them together in a parallel position, so the two wheels are trying to get away from each other, and then when you try and separate them, you're here and you're trying to pull them apart. With this clever piece of design, you don't need to do that. All you have to do is just tap the handlebar. It separates the wheels, and then bring it round, lock in, up, lock in, saddle up, pedals out, and we're ready to roll. It's that kind of clever design and innovation which is why Eovolt are distancing themselves in the folding electric bike market. So onto the frame, and again, this is where Eovolt having some control of their production and supply chain can really make a difference. So just something like internally routing the cables across the bottom of the frame here, it just cleans it up, it just makes it look a lot better. You've not got any unsightly cables just dangling underneath with some zip ties on that can just look a bit like a dog's dinner. But probably the thing that really makes the biggest difference is that Eovolt hand polish all of the welds on their bike frames, and what that does, it really does make a night and day difference to the look and the premium feel. The smooth paint finish on the Eovolt frames really does stand out, and it really gives it that extra quality and premium look. And when you see it up against a brand that just uses a generic Chinese frame, you really can see there's a huge difference in the quality of the bike. So onto the motor. So important to understand that Eovolt do not just use a generic Chinese motor like a lot of inferior, cheaper brands. Eovolt have been working with their motor manufacturer now for over 5 years, and during that time they've been continually innovating and improving the spec of the motor, and they've made such a difference to that now, and they've improved and changed that motor to such a degree that they are actually now allowed to put their own branding on the motor. So that is why you will see the Eovolt brand or see the words powered by Eovolt on the motor. I know that a lot of people buying electric bikes are always worried about the quality of the motor. You have no worries about that with Eovolt whatsoever. This motor is super reliable, it performs incredibly well, and that is because over a number of years it's been continually improved and worked upon by both the motor manufacturer and also Eovolt themselves. So how is that motor powered? Well, again, this is another distinction that makes Eovolt a superior product to most. Eovolt use a torque sensor through an LCD with 5 levels of assistance. So a torque sensor is used on all premium, more expensive bikes. So basically a torque sensor delivers the power through to the motor by the torque or the pressure being put on the pedals. So what that means is that when you're on the flat and you're just putting a little bit of pressure through the pedals, it's just giving you the power and the assistance you need just to help you when you're in that situation. When you get onto a hill and all of a sudden you start pushing on those pedals a lot harder, then all of a sudden the torque sensor recognizes that you need more help, and it gives you maximum assistance, also based on the power level that you have on your LCD. Now what this means is that a torque sensor is only ever giving you the battery power required at the certain times that you need it. Now again, cheaper bikes tend to use a cadence sensor. A cadence sensor just gives all of the power all of the time, doesn't care whether you're on the flat, doesn't care whether you're on a hill. and basically it puts a bigger drain on your battery. A torque sensor is a lot more efficient on your battery and will improve the range that you get off your battery as well. The other thing as well that is really important to understand with a torque sensor is that you get a much more ride feel like you're actually riding a normal bike than you do with a cadence sensor. A torque sensor is a far superior system that is used on much better quality premium bikes, and that is why Eovolt are using torque sensors across their whole range moving forward. The battery system. So Eovolt as a brand firmly believe that the best place to house the battery is in the seat post. There's a number of reasons for that. The first one is that the battery is always pretty much the heaviest thing on an electric bike. So by having it centrally directly below the rider, it really helps the balance of the bike and the handling. If you have it strapped onto the back of the rear rack here, massive rear bias to the bike affects the handling. By having it in the seat post directly below the rider, it means the handling and the balance works really well. Also, aesthetically, it makes the bike still look, doesn't ruin any of the lines of the bike. It makes the bike still look absolutely stunning. Again, if you've got a big battery just strapped on the back here to the seat tube or sat on the rear rack here, it can look a little bit unsightly and ruin the beautiful lines of the bike. And also, the seat post battery is a completely removable system. You just undo the clip underneath here, undo your seat post clamp, and then just pull the seat post out, and you just take your battery to the socket. So you don't need to take your bike to the socket to charge it. Just remove the battery, take this in your motorhome, put it on your desk and charge it on your desk at work, or at home, leave the bike in the garage and take the battery inside to charge it. The seat post battery makes a lot of sense. Also, the quality of the Eovolt batteries are nothing to be worried about whatsoever. We've got Samsung cells inside our seat post batteries, which means that you have super reliable from a brand that everybody knows is very high quality. So your battery is one of the most expensive things to replace on your bike, and it's something that obviously everyone is worried about being stolen. With Eovolt, they have put an anti-theft QR clamp onto their bike. So what this does is it locks this QR clamp in place, which means then that your seat post cannot be stolen. So basically, when you push this pin down here, it locks it in place, and your bike comes with 2 keys to undo the lock on the clamp. You simply just push down, quarter turn to the right, quarter turn back, and the pin pops up, and then you can move your seat post back up and down. You obviously, as we've mentioned before, you can completely remove the seat post, not only just for charging, but you can also then take it into the cafe with you if you've left your bike outside or whatever. But if you don't want to do that, just pop that pin down, locks that in place, means that no one can steal your battery. So also new on version 3 for this year are new wheels. So Eovolt now have got their own wheel building machinery in their factory in Lyon. It's another example of where they've took control of part of their supply chain to make sure that they are obviously controlling the quality and improving the quality on their bikes. The rims are sourced in France. They're Mach 1 rims from a European manufacturer, obviously based in Europe. And then they are brought into the factory, and then the wheels are built with their own wheel building machinery. What this has meant is we've ended up with a pair of wheels now that are of a super high quality, a lot higher quality than what we had previously before, and also we have lost some weight. Each one of these wheels is 200 grams less than it was before, so an overall weight loss of 400 grams just on the wheels alone. Drivetrain and brakes. So I mentioned it at the very start of the video. We've now moved to full Shimano hydraulic disc brakes on the Origins range. We did have hydraulic disc brakes before, but it was from an OEM unknown manufacturer. But now we've gone to the most respected and most well-known manufacturer you could have in Shimano. We also have a Shimano Tourney 7-speed shifter and a Shimano Tourney 7-speed rear mech, and obviously 7 gears on the rear as well. So as far as the brakes and the drivetrain is concerned now, full Shimano. It's the best you can get, the highest quality, the most respected and renowned manufacturer, which again is just raising that overall bar on the quality of the bike. Other features just to mention are on all Eovolt UK bikes you get a rear rack as standard, you get a Cell Royale premium saddle as standard, and even something as simple as the bell. You know, again, it's something, nothing has been left to chance, nothing has been left where it couldn't be improved, and now we have a premium nog bell which works really well, but actually it's very discreetly hidden away between your grip, your brake lever and your LCD, so it's not like a big unsightly bell on the handlebar. It looks really nice. Again, it's all part of making the whole package as good as possible using recognised, well-known brands that bring quality across the whole of the bike. Lights wise, you have a Spanninger Kendo front light. Spanninger is a very well-known, respected European brand, and that is powered by the battery and operated from the LCD. The rear light is a independent light which runs off a coin battery, but you do also have a bracket on the back of the rear rack here where you could attach another independent battery operated rear light as well if you wanted to. So there we have the Eovolt Afternoon 20-inch Origins folding electric bike. I hope that this deep dive into the technical specifications and design features make you realise why Eovolt as a brand and their attention to detail across the whole of their bike, looking to improve every little aspect of the bike, is why their bikes are so fantastic. But to be honest with you, the penny won't really drop until you take one of these bikes for a ride. If you take one of these Afternoon 20-inch bikes for a ride, you will realise instantly what an amazing bike it is in the way it handles and the way it rides. So we are in retailers nationwide all across the country, in some of the biggest retailers in the country. Go onto the dealer locator on eovolt.co.uk to find your nearest retailer. Get in contact with them, make sure they've got a demo bike there, and go and give this bike a ride. I guarantee that you won't regret it.